Okay, I want everyone to just take a deep breath, clear your mind. We are going to do something a little different today. I want you to picture a scene. It's 2026. You're the top salesperson at the most exclusive, high-end electric vehicle dealership in the city. You know, the floors are marble, the espresso machine costs more than a Honda Civic, and the silence is expensive.
It's a high-pressure environment.
Extremely. And you're waiting for your 10:00 a.m. appointment. But when the doors slide open, it's not a tech billionaire in a hoodie. It's not a venture capitalist. It's an elderly man. He's draped in a toga that, somehow manages to look more dignified than a three-piece suit. He has the weight of the entire Roman Republic on his shoulders.
And he's probably judging your architectural choices.
Oh, absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, our difficult client today is Marcus Tullius Cicero, the legendary Roman statesman, orator, and philosopher.
A man who has been dead for over 2,000 years, and yet here we are, trying to get his credit score.
Here we are. And look, we have to be clear about the mission today. This is a game of fantasy. We are taking a stack of very real sources. Cicero's own heavy-hitting texts like De Officiis, his letters, academic papers on his real estate habits, and a fascinating Italian analysis that links Cicero specifically to the philosophy of modern EVs.
It sounds like a bizarre combination, I know, but when you dig into the texts, the connection is shockingly logical.
That's the goal. We're going to play this game, this Gioco di Fantasia, to figure out definitively which modern cars Cicero would drive off the lot. I'm ready to sell.
And I'm ready to make sure you don't violate his philosophical principles in the process. Because selling to Cicero isn't about features or horsepower, it's about virtue.
Right. So let's profile the client, because I started reading the source material, specifically Cicero, about luxury, and I have to be honest, this guy seems like a total buzzkill.
He certainly has that reputation.
He is harsh. He writes about luxuria, luxury, like it's a disease. He lumps it in with avaricious, so greed, libido, lust, and desidia, idleness. He's practically shouting, "Get off my lawn with your fancy chariots."
He advocates for the simple life, frugality, dignity. You know, he sounds like a minimalist.
Exactly. But then, and here's where I got confused, you look at his actual life. The guy was a real estate mogul. He had a massive house on the Palatine Hill in Rome. He had villas in Tusculum, Formia, Pompeii. He wasn't exactly living in a barrel like Diogenes.
No, he was not. And that is the paradox of character that historians have argued about for centuries. Is he a hypocrite? Is he preaching water and drinking wine?
It feels that way. It feels like a modern politician tweeting about climate change from a private jet.
It does feel familiar, but here is the nuance we need to nail down if we want to sell him a car. It comes down to the Roman distinction between the private person and the public person.
Okay, so what's the excuse?
The excuse, or the justification, really is status. The argument is that if a private individual bathes in luxury just for pleasure, that is hedonism, that is weak. But a state person, a public figure like Cicero, requires representative housing.
Representative housing.
Yes. He needs a place that reflects his social standing. Think about it this way. If the President of the United States showed up to a G7 summit driving a rusted-out 1998 hatchback, what does that say?
It says the country is broke. It looks weak.
Exactly. It projects instability. Cicero's defense is that his mansions, his art, and yes, his transport aren't for him. They are props for the character he plays. The consul, the senator, the father of the fatherland.
So the luxury is a uniform.
Precisely. It's about maintaining the dignity of the office. And that is the first rule for our sales pitch. This car cannot be a party car. It can't be a bright red convertible bought just so he can feel the wind in his hair. That would be libido.
It has to be a tool.
A tool of dignitas. If he buys a car, he needs to be able to argue to the Senate that this vehicle helps him serve the Republic better.
Got it. So we need something impressive, but serious. But before we get to the specific models, we have to talk about the owner's manual. We have to talk about De Officiis.
De Officiis, or On Duties. This is the book he wrote for his son, Marcus. And if we don't understand the core conflict in Book 3, we are never going to close this deal.
This is the battle between honestum and utila, which, again, sounds like a high-end law firm.
It does. Honestum is moral virtue, what is inherently right. Utile is expediency, what is useful or advantageous to you.
Okay, so normally we think those two things are enemies. Like, if I'm running late for a meeting, the UTL thing, the useful thing, is to speed, drive 100 miles per hour. But that's illegal and dangerous, so it's not honestum. I have to pick one.
Right. That's how we think. It's a trade-off. You can be good or you can be successful. Cicero says, absolutely not.
He thinks you can have it all.
He goes further. He argues that if an action is immoral, it cannot actually be useful in the long run. If you cheat to get ahead, you haven't actually succeeded. You've damaged your soul, which is your most valuable asset.
So applying this to the car dealership.
It means the car must be useful. It has to get him to the Senate efficiently. That's util. But to be truly good, it must also be honestum. It cannot be obtained through corruption. It cannot be ostentatious to the point of moral decay. And honestly, the supply chain probably matters to him too.
So if I try to sell him a car that's fast, but known for being unreliable or ethically shady, he's going to walk out.
He's going to lecture you on virtue, and then he's going to walk out.
Okay, so we need a car that is practical and morally sound. Now, I want to throw a curveball here. We're talking about a Stoic. We're talking about a guy who preaches against greed. So why don't I just take him to the used lot and sell him a Toyota Prius?
A Prius?
Yeah. It's reliable, it's efficient, it's humble. It seems like the perfect Stoic car. Why spend 6 figures on an EV when a used Prius does the job?
That is a very rational thought, but it fails the test of decorum.
Decorum. Okay, that's the concept from the thesis. There's no I in team. Break that down. Why does the Prius fail?
Because of the 2 masks. Cicero uses this theatrical analogy. He says we all wear 2 masks. The first mask is universal. It's our shared human reason. We all have that.
And the second mask?
The second mask is our individual role, the unique traits in station that make you you. Decorum happens when there is harmony between your character and your actions.
So the car has to match the specific mask he is wearing.
Exactly. Cicero is a senior senator. He's an elder statesman. If he rolls up to the Roman Forum in a dented Prius,
it doesn't match the mask.
It's unseemly.
Well,
it lacks gravitas. It might be virtuous in a vacuum, but for Cicero specifically, it's an insult to his office. A Prius says, I am an Uber driver. It doesn't say, I am saving the Republic.
So the sensible choice is actually the wrong choice because it damages his brand. That is a very specific, very Roman kind of vanity.
It's not vanity to him, it's propriety. Decorum requires him to be visually above the crowd.
Okay, so the Prius is out. The monster truck is definitely out. We need high-end, we need dignified. This brings us to the engine. Our sources are convinced he would go electric. Why?
This comes from the Cicerone source, the Italian analysis. It focuses on the sensory experience of Rome.
Let's paint that picture. Because we think of Rome as white marble statues, but it wasn't like that, was it?
God, no, it was loud. It was chaotic. Think about iron wheels grinding on stone paving, drivers shouting, the smell of thousands of horses, the dust.
And Cicero was an intellectual.
He was a man who needed to think. He needed to compose complicated rhetoric in his head. He found the noise and the smell of travel physically exhausting.
So enter the modern EV.
Enter the silence. The source suggests Cicero would be obsessed with the acoustic isolation of a high-end EV. It aligns perfectly with Stoic calm. It allows him to turn the vehicle into a mobile study.
The source calls it invisible luxury. I love that term. It's advanced technology, but it's discreet. It's not a roaring V8 engine drawing attention to itself with noise. It's stealth wealth.
And don't forget the practical side. The source mentions acceleration fulminea, lightning acceleration.
Which sounds fun, but remember, no fun allowed.
Well, not fun for fun's sake. But think about his commute. He's going back and forth between Rome and his villa in Tusculum constantly, getting there in half the time without the sweat, without the horse manure. That is pure util.
Okay. We have the profile. Silent, efficient, powerful but discreet, dignified enough for a consul, but rational enough for a philosopher. We are ready for the showroom showdown.
Let's see the inventory.
I have 2 cars pulled around the front. Contender number 1, the Lucid Air.
Interesting choice.
The Cicerone source specifically calls this one out. It mentions a range of up to 512 miles and over 1,200 horsepower.
That range is the killer feature.
Exactly. Cicero spent a huge amount of his life on the road. 512 miles means you can go from Rome to Tusculum, then down to Formia, maybe even flee to the coast if Mark Antony's chasing him, all without stopping to charge.
It is the ultimate expression of efficiency. It's a car that prioritizes technology and logic over pure bling. It appeals to the part of him that wrote De Officiis, the practical management of duties. It gets the job done better than anything else on the market.
I have a concern.
Which is?
Is it prestigious enough? Lucid is a startup. It's new tech. Does it carry the gravitas of the Roman Republic?
That is the risk. It might be too Silicon Valley for a traditionalist like Cicero.
Which brings us to contender number 2, the Rolls-Royce Spectre.
Ah, now we're talking about dignitas.
This is the electric version of the ultimate status symbol. The source describes it as ultra-exclusive, silent, and prestigious.
This is the state person car. Remember the loophole.
Mm.
He is allowed to have representative housing. This is representative transport. When he pulls up to the Chariot in a Rolls-Royce Spectre, nobody questions who is in charge.
But I'm worried it's too much. I'm worried it's luxurious.
It's walking a fine line.
I mean, look at it. It's massive. It's
Yes.
opulent, honestly. It smells a little bit like libido. It smells like indulgence. If I'm his political enemy, if I'm Caesar, I'm looking at that car and saying, look at Cicero, bathing in hand-stitched leather while the people starve.
That is a very real danger. But, counterpoint, the Spectre is also a fortress. It is the quietest car in the world. It is a bank vault on wheels.
So you think he can justify it?
I think the Lucid Air is the choice of the private Cicero, the philosopher who wants logic. But the public Cicero, the man who has to intimidate his rivals, he can't step out of a spaceship, he needs a throne.
So we're torn. The Lucid for the man, the Rolls for the legend.
If he has to pick one, which mask does he wear most often?
He wears the mask of the orator, the public figure.
Then I think the sources push us toward the Rolls-Royce, but, and there is a massive but here, he would only accept it if he uses it with performative sobriety.
Performative sobriety. I like that.
He can't drive it like a teenager. He can't wrap it in gold chrome. He has to drive it with a stern look on his face. He has to tell everyone, I take no pleasure in these lamb's wool carpet citizens. I only endure them because the soundproofing helps me draft laws for your benefit.
I am suffering in this massage seat for the good of the Republic.
Exactly. It's the perfect Ciceronian compromise. He gets the luxury, but he frames it as a burden of his office.
I think we have a winner.
Yeah.
We are leasing him the Rolls-Royce Spectre.
Mm-hmm.
Black on black, no rims.
Okay.
But before he signs the paperwork, I want to take a deeper dive into the price tag, because this is a $400,000 car. And there is a really interesting point in the thesis about property rights that connects to this.
Yes, this is crucial. It connects back to his politics. Cicero was a staunch defender of private property.
The sources mention he opposed something called Novae Tabulae. What is that?
Novae tabulae literally means new tablets. It was a euphemism for debt cancellation, wiping the slate clean.
A jubilee.
Right. The populist politicians like Caesar and Catiline often promised this to the masses. Vote for me and I'll wipe out your debts.
And Cicero hated that.
He despised it. He believed the state's primary job was to protect private property. He believed that if you earned something through your merit and your labor, the state had no right to take it away or devalue it.
So in a weird way, him buying this incredibly expensive electric vehicle is a political statement.
It is. It's a defense of his philosophy. He is enjoying the fruits of his merit. He's saying, I earned this status, I earned this wealth, and the state protects my right to buy this Spectre.
It's not just a car. It's a symbol of the system working. If the state starts saying you can't have a Rolls-Royce, or if they start wiping out debt so that money becomes meaningless, the Republic falls.
Precisely. The thesis notes that for Cicero, the protection of private property is an extension of natural justice. So driving this car is an act of justice in his eyes.
That is the best rationalization for buying a luxury car I have ever heard.
Honey,
I didn't buy the sports car for me, I bought it for justice.
try that with your spouse and let me know how it goes. But for Cicero, it works.
There's one last paradox I want to touch on from the paradox of Stoicorum. The sage alone is free.
Yes, only the wise are free. Every fool is a slave.
How does that apply to the car? Because usually we think of cars as freedom, the open road, right? But cars also trap us.
Yeah.
Payments, maintenance, traffic.
Well, think about the technology. The source mentions that modern EVs, with their climate control, autopilot features, and smooth ride, free the driver from the physical fatigue of travel.
Oh, that's good.
In a Chariot, you are a slave to the elements. You are a slave to the horse's mood. You arrive exhausted. In the EV, the technology handles the physical burden. This frees your mind.
So the car frees him to be a philosopher.
Exactly. It allows his mind to work on rhetoric and logic, rather than worrying about a broken wheel or a lame horse. The technology facilitates his wisdom. Therefore, the car makes him freer.
Unless, of course, the battery dies in the middle of nowhere. Then he's just a philosopher stuck on the side of the Appian Way waiting for a tow truck.
Well, that's why he has his assistants. A true statesman never charges his own vehicle.
True. So we've successfully sold Marcus Tullius Cicero a Rolls-Royce Spectre, justified it as a tool of the state, aligned it with his views on private property, and framed it as a vessel for Stoic freedom. Not bad for a day's work.
I think he'd be the most difficult customer we've ever had, but eventually the logic holds up.
It really does. And look, I want to say a huge thank you to everyone listening for going along with this. This was a true gioco di fantasia, a game of fantasy.
It's a fun exercise. Taking these ancient minds and dropping them into our modern problems helps us see both sides a little clearer.
Absolutely. But before we hand over the keys, there is one final lingering thought from the Paradoxa Stoicorum that I think we need to leave the listener with.
It's the warning.
Cicero says, all fools are mad, and every fool is in exile. He talks about how people become slaves to their possessions. They become owned by their things.
Right. We just spent all this time justifying Cicero buying a $400,000 car, but the danger is always there.
If we are constantly upgrading, if we are obsessed with the next model year, if we are taking on massive debt just to look the part of the state person, are we actually free?
Or are we the fools Cicero warned about? Are we driving the machine, or is the machine driving us?
That is the question.
And if Cicero were here, I think he'd tell us that the car is fine as long as you're willing to walk away from it without looking back.
A little something to mull over while you're stuck in traffic today.
Indeed.
Thanks for participating in the game. Thanks for joining us on the deep dive. Drive safe, watch out for chariots, and we'll catch you next time.